Hello.
Hey, hi James.
Hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Um, yeah. So thanks for setting this up. Actually, I know this issue raises more questions than answers. So fair enough.
Yeah, like I wasn't very sure where I should begin, so I thought it's better I talk to you before I start working on
Yeah.
anything.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I said this to record because that might be useful. To keep this somewhere where other people can also check the discussion and why we do things one way or the other and so on.
Sure.
Cool. So let me see. So I saw your diagram, but so that would mean having a separate gem that we include as a race engine, and then have um, all the separate logic there that calls the customers up. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Um, cool. And then the idea is to include the gem only if we are on EE. Well, it should be only if we are in on GitLab.com, maybe.
Uh,
So
mm,
yeah, it
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, it has to be an intersection of GitLab EE and GitLab.com. Or just GitLab.com should be sufficient, right?
Yeah, I think in this case we just mainly focus on the .com stuff. I think the problem with this approach could be that in the gem we may use things, but we definitely use things that are in the GitLab app. Like we may have to call some services or some things that they're not in the gem itself. So that might be tricky.
Correct. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that would be a big problem there because we definitely don't want to copy things, that are in there, and also you have in the race app you have all the models and everything. So yeah, with the gem it could be tricky there, and also then obviously the issue with the gem, it definitely isolates things, but it also means that we have to maintain the gem and maintain the versions and so on, and it's a bit more work as well because then you have to release a version, then bump it in the GitHub code and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the yeah, I think I'm not sure how, but if we can extract all of this code into a namespace,
Mm-hmm.
then for EE we have this sort of everything that starts with EE / blah blah blah, and then we remove all that code and it works on CE basically. So that's what we did. The migration is basically doing that now. So we don't have a GitLab CE repo, but we just have one. We just get that EE, and what we do if we want to create this other open source project is just remove everything. All these EE folders that are specific to EE, and everything should work out of the box. So I wonder if we can do something like that for this case. I'm not sure how difficult it is though. But I was thinking, and I think what is one of my proposals there as well, that I mentioned a certain specific code, so it's easier to put a high-level check or some sort of gateway to check for .com. So yeah, I think the issue here, and I don't know how we're going to approach this, is say we move this all into this namespace, which is like .com specific, like, and then we have this namespace, but then this will still get released into self-manage. So how do we make sure that this code is not enabled? And one workaround would be to just in Rails you have this thing where you put the folders that you want to auto load, like like /lib and so on, we could actually make a check there and just exclude these folders from being in the thing if GitLab.com is true. That's one thing. Or there's a bit of a workaround though. The other thing is that yeah, let me think. Yeah, we could put checks, but I don't know how. So if we use something like inheritance or something like that, yeah, I would probably need to. We probably need to go through the code and see how everything is done there. But if we have, say, like controllers, services, and everything inherits from something that says, well, just don't load me or do anything if I'm not GitLab.com, then it's fine, because we keep just extending that. So that's another solution, although it's not perfect. But I think something along those lines would be great. And the other approach would be to maybe be more specific with the specs or something. I think Stan also mentions having this GitLab.com feature added to the to our spec, like a tag, so we can use those in specs that we know that they're touching GitLab.com things. But yeah, I don't know. So we should probably like sort of flag those automatically, but it's quite difficult to do. So those are my thoughts, but again, very vague at the moment.
So I liked your idea of extracting it into a module, especially because we wouldn't have to write all those dependents. We can use those dependent code, but so do you think it would be confusing for developers? So they already have GitLab EE, and then you have .com, and then it's the normal CE code that is there. So if we have then, because the first thing when I started working on this, the first question that I had was, is GitLab.com a subset of GitLab EE? So if that is,
that's a good point. I think it is, but I don't know if we are very good at separating those concerns. So I think this issue is partially to investigate how, because I haven't dig into the code, so I don't know if it's easy to struct. So I don't know how tightly coupled it is basically with the rest of the code. It could be difficult. I don't know. Like maybe we just use it all over the place, and we don't check, or we don't care if it's .com. But I think the key thing here is that really the .com stuff it shouldn't definitely affect self-managed, and I don't think it's a concern for self-managed, like unless they are like resellers or something like that, maybe, and they want to use some of that. But I think there's some separation there, and then we can obviously here's the easiest thing to do, and just make sure that we have checks everywhere. Then like if GitLab.com do this or not, and we probably already have those. I don't know how good we are at doing that, but I don't think we can separate everything right now, because my assumption is that this is probably all over the place. Like if you search for if or unless GitLab.com in the code, there's probably loads of places where we have this, which is quite messy. So, and this problem, I mean, we won't solve with this issue, everything there, because I think it's too big, but it might be worth just grabbing, in the code, how many times we use that. And then out of those, if it makes sense to separate them or something, then Yeah, because I mean, we already have that in place, that check. I guess the other thing we can do here is to make sure that this doesn't happen continuously, like by an spec or something. But I don't know how you would check that, like because what if you just forget to put like the check itself? It's very difficult
It's the same as
to.
the situation that it's today, right? Like
Sorry.
someone might, the situation is same as what it is today. Like we
Yeah,
might just forget to put the check. So
yeah. So that's the problem here. So that's why separating things, and at least what we can do now is maybe it's too much work, for obviously creating this separate namespace for everything, or for certain things, like it could be just a controller level and a model level, or that wherever. It doesn't have to be like at the root app folder like EE, or we could do that too. I don't know what makes sense there, but I think what we can do here is that maybe we could just extract the trials stuff, and then from now on we could keep adding to these new namespaces and so on. So two ideas here. So because there's so many places in the code that we check for GitLab.com, it's probably not worth to move that everything to separate namespace or separate thing, separate folder, because it's too much work. But what we can do is maybe start with the trials stuff, or just from now on, create the structure so that we have something where to put this code from now on. And the second thing here to do would be to create a spec that for every time we check if or unless GitLab.com, we fail the spec saying, hey, this is not in the right namespace. Is it possible to do this in within this namespace and just link to the folder structure or something? If not, please ignore this warning, and add the like a whitelist. We can just have a whitelist or something, because this is something that I've done for the import export stuff as well. And I think it's a good spec to have, because then it will, every developer that has a new GitLab.com stuff, will make them check this. And actually, the third thing we have to do is we need to add some documentation, development documentation once we add this, so the developers don't go like, whoa, why do we have to move it there? And what's the, what do we actually have to do? So we may need to have some docs around this. But that's my idea, though. I'm open to other suggestions, and I put a few, a bunch of them as well, because we can also do this through Danger as well. Like, instead of a spec, we could just let Danger check this and see if, I don't know, if we change, or if we add like something that checks for GitLab.com, maybe it can fail, or it can just tell you what to do. I don't know. I don't know what's the best thing to do there, but yeah, probably it doesn't matter that much as long as we put something.
Okay. Yeah, this sounds good. But yeah, so this is one question I still have. So we have GitLab CE, which is the main code, and then we have the EE and .com, right? So like how would a developer know that should I put the code in EE as well as .com?
Yes. Yeah, it probably should be inside EE. Unless you separate these like completely from EE and just create a new com, like /com. So the same way as we do with EE. So we could do that. I don't know what's best, but I wonder if it's too much to do that. So that's why I mentioned maybe you could just do it in EE, and then just separate concerns in there somewhere. So it depends on the granularity, basically. Like, it could be we can do this at the root level, like we do for EE, but that might be too much work. I don't know. Or we can do this at like controller level and so on, just have like namespaces there or something. And ideally, you know, if you do that, then you can always check. You can just use inheritance or something like that um, to only do that if GitLab.com, basically. So you don't have to repeat yourself there.
Yeah, okay. Okay. But that is assuming like, you know, whole of GitLab.com code is there in EE.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So that's a good question. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, some parts may. I don't think. I think all of the code for GitLab.com should be in EE. But because when you touch the code, you may modify parts that are in GitLab in the normal code base. So yeah, I don't know how we're gonna. Maybe you can just do it anyway. I don't know if that's gonna be a problem, you know. But we may have to refactor or change slightly the CE code. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, let me just quickly check how many of these we have. My assumption is that we have loads. So let's see. Actually, we don't have that many. Oh no, we do. Let me see. This is finish. So let me share my screen 1 second. If I move this. Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen and just doing a search for this everywhere. There's actually not that many. I thought it would be more than this, but you can tell that this is mainly EE related, like share minutes, mirror, EE namespace. I don't know about these confirmation instructions, but yeah, no, this is in CE probably. Yeah, but I would assume, you know, most of the things are E, like this one, system hooks. So normally, most of the time, it should be related to EE. Yeah, there's a few views here that are actually common to both. So that's a bit of a problem, but
my only concern was now say so currently the precedence is given to EE, right? Say you know, there is a say for example there's a groups controller. Okay. So groups control is there in you know, is in CE as well as it's there in EE. So if it's an EE environment, we give the precedence to EE. So now if we add another namespace that is .com, so how would the precedence be? Like if it is a .com environment, will .com get the precedence? And if it's EE, if it's just EE, then EE would get the preference, would get the precedence. And if it's CE, you know, just the CE code would get the preference, right?
yeah, I think, yeah, I wonder if it just makes sense to do this in EE, like inside the EE namespace, because then .com is really a subset of EE most of the times. And all of the things, all of the checks here are mainly related to, you know, runner minutes and CI minutes and yeah, stuff that are in EE. So maybe we can just put it in the EE namespace directly. I don't know. But yeah, it should definitely extend EE in any case, if it makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what else, but yeah, again, you know, we may need to dig into the code and see what the changes are really, because I'm not sure. I haven't checked. I know we have this in place in quite a few in a few front end bits and also in the back end. But yeah, but I know in some, like in the front end, we may just do return unless GitLab.com or something like that. So yeah, there's the things that we can sort of automate as well if we wanted. And yeah, but I think these things live like in a different, in the same namespaces and everything that the rest of EE. So yeah, maybe we should extract those. That's the only thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should I just? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just thinking if I should just start with a POC with maybe trials controller or something, and see if it even makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's the best. That's the best idea to do, and especially we can ping other people as well, like Ruben and Tyler, and see what their thoughts are. But yeah, I think that's great. Just create like a small POC. So don't put like a lot of effort on it, because in case we may decide against it or we may refactor that or something. But I think that's the best way forward, just to create like a small POC, and then once you have something ready, you can ping us all or ping the team directly in there. We definitely need to ping front end as well, because this is definitely touching the front end parts too. So they may have an opinion as well. So yeah, but I think the POC is better, because if we don't know what we're going to change and how we're going to change, it's very difficult. But if you start working on it for a little bit, then we will see how it looks like and if it makes sense or not, and so on. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I'll start with that then. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Anything else or any other questions?
No, that's it. Yeah, there was. Okay. So we won't be able to ship it in 12.3, right? The trials.
No, but it's not a big deal, because it's .com functionality, which means that we don't have to wait for the release, for the next release to have this on .com. It's just once it gets deployed, the next release candidate, then we'll see it live, which could be like in a week or something like that. It depends. If we may be starting with security release and so on now, so I don't know, but it could be like a week or two, and then it will be live anyway. So yeah, not a big deal anyway. Yeah, it just means that the milestone has shifted basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, just ping us once you have the POC, so everyone can have a look.
Sure. Thank you
Cool.
so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.